Avenue in a beautifully restored historic home. Family owned and operated by Rick Gates, former Brownsville resident and Guyville alumni, the Gates Funeral Home and Crematory offers warmth, convenience, affordability, and ample parking. With a knowledgeable funeral director and compassionate staff, the Gates family and the Gates Funeral Home and Crematory are ready to assist you.
WMES time is 8:20. Again, a reminder that Pennsylvania American Water is reporting a water main break in Uniontown. Repairs are being conducted right now and are expected to take about 9 hours. You may experience low water pressure or no water or cloudy or discolored water. For more information, go to their website, PennsylvaniaAMWater.com, and click on Alerts. Time now for Your Financial Future with Gary Boatman. This program was recorded for playback at this time.
All content is for information purposes only, is not intended to provide any tax or legal advice or provide the basis for any financial decisions, nor is it intended to be a projection of current or future performance or indication of future results. Opinions expressed are solely those of Gary Boatman and staff. The information discussed has been derived from sources believed to be reliable but is not guaranteed as to the accuracy and completeness and does not purport to be a complete analysis of the materials discussed. The information contained herein should in no way be construed or interpreted as a solicitation to sell or offer to sell advisory services to any residents of any state other than the state of Pennsylvania or otherwise legally permitted. Topics should be discussed with your individual advisor prior to implementation. Purchases are subject to suitability. This requires a review of investors' objective risk tolerance and time horizons. Investing always involves risk and possible loss of capital. Advisory services offered through Boatman Wealth Management LLC, an investment advisor in the state of Pennsylvania.
Good morning and welcome to Your Financial Future. I'm certified financial planner Gary Boatman, and we're here in WMBS every Saturday morning. We want to try and make your financial life the best it can be. We have a lot of older listeners, and at Boatman Wealth Management, we have a specialty in retirement planning. And so when you're coming up towards retirement, and towards retirement could be 4 or 5 years out, depending on your situation. Some people, that's from when you want to retire. Some people say, I want to retire at 60. I want to retire at 55. If that's your thing, you still need some lead time. You still need to say, okay, let's get all of our ducks in order. And so, you want to make sure that you're aware of some challenges that maybe you don't know about. I had a person that is 61 that's looking at retirement, and we had a discussion this week on how much income can we get because of health care. When you're 65, you can go on Medicare. Medicare is the government program. Everybody has to go on Medicare at 65 unless they or their spouse are still working for a company with 20 or more employees. And if you are coming up to where you have to make a Medicare decision, my daughter Kelly is our Medicare specialist, and Kelly can help you figure out which the plan that will cover your doctors and your medications the best, considering your health situation. To reach Kelly, if you got to make a Medicare choice, 724-684-6600. Also, we know there's some people, if you open enrollment ended in December 7th, but if you are in an Advantage plan, which many, many people are, if you are finding out that that plan isn't working quite as well as you hoped, you may have an option to make an adjustment up until the end of March. Kelly can help you with that. If you're on a Medigap plan, you can't. You're locked in for the year. But if you're on an Advantage plan, that means you're probably paying 0 or very low monthly payments, and you're probably getting some extra benefits like maybe glasses and some of that. If you're on an Advantage plan and you have some questions, or you're on the best, you can call Kelly, 724-684-6600. To get back to the client that I had mentioned, he was thinking about retiring, but it's very important, his income, he doesn't qualify for Medicare yet. So to go on the health exchange in Pennsylvania, it's Pennie, Pennie. It is very income important. If you are going to that website to try and get insurance, do not underestimate your income to get a lower rate. They'll give you a lower rate, but when you file your taxes, you'll get hit really, really hard. So it's very important if you're getting health care through that government site, state site Pennie, that you're as very accurate in what your income is going to be. Otherwise, it'll catch up to you. But because of this, we have to look and adjust our income plan. I've had people that were a year away from Social Security before, and they went and we had to position some of their assets so that they would grow but would not spin off income that would make their health insurance more expensive. So there's a lot of different planning that has to go into it. When you're coming up to retirement, whatever age, whether it's 65 or if you're doing it earlier or if you're working later, it's the same things. You have to prepare. We have to look at 401ks and IRAs, thrift savings plans, see if it makes a sense to roll over. Sometimes you roll over because you get more options. 401ks don't have all the different investment options. You want to look at asset protection. When we talk to clients about things, sometimes we have a checklist that we work off of, just like pilots. You know, when Sully Sullenberg was the most famous pilot, when he had to land his jet in New York in the river there, all pilots use checklist. Sully used a checklist. There was just problems on the plane. But we use checklists to go, and for probably half of the people, we can tell them about a way. We don't do it ourselves, but we can tell them how to get this done for a couple $100 to protect a lot of their assets. About half of all people have this. About half of all people don't have it. So that's just a small example of a thing that we try and do. Is income planning. If you're going to retire, no matter what age, where's your income coming from? That's the most important. For some people, usually not doing it as much with young people, but is long-term care solutions, depending on if their health and some different things. If your health's really bad, you don't have many options, so you have to plan early. The old traditional way of paying long-term care premiums and hoping you never use it, that doesn't exist almost at all. I think there's only one company writing those kind of policies. But there are some policies where you can reposition maybe some money that was in a CD. You'll get some growth on it, but if you need long-term cares, you could get a multiplier. If you needed information on something like that, if you wanted to see could you get long-term care without paying a premium, give us a call at 724-684-6600. Looking at your portfolio analysis, what got you to retirement may not be what you need when you are retired. So that's what we do as retirement specialists. Many people's financial plan is a hodgepodge. You bought a life insurance policy when you had kids or a house, and it's still there. Maybe it makes sense to change that. Maybe it doesn't. It depends. If it's a term policy, there's no value in it, and it ends. Term can be really good when you're young, give you a lot of bang for the buck, and like paying off a mortgage or if somebody died too young. But for older people, term is very hard. But there's a number of times we're able to analyze an old life insurance policy, and sometimes we can get you more coverage for the same premium or keep the same coverage for less. That varies. We have to analyze it. A lot of people have 401k plans that they've left at old jobs. We want to organize that and come up with the best plan. Let's talk a little bit about 2008. In some ways, that sounds like forever ago, but it's only a little over 17 years ago, right? We had our second market crash at the beginning of 2000. We had two crashes. We had one in 2002. We had one in 2008. If you were invested in the S&P 500, the 500 biggest U.S. companies, it's probably the best measure of the overall economy because they're in all different industries. I mean, these are big U.S. companies. If you invested January 1st of 2000, the S&P 500, it took 12 years to break even if you didn't take anything out. If you were retired and you had to take RMDs or money out to live, you never made it up. But in 2008 alone, U.S. homeowners lost $3.3 trillion in home equity. And remember, there's been some inflation since then, so those numbers are a lot more. The stock market erased over $6.9 trillion in shareholders' wealth. Think what that would be today. And America lost a historic, for that time, $10.2 trillion. So the market has been doing great. There's nothing wrong with the market, but you can't be over-dependent on it. You need to, money in the market should be money that you don't need for something specific. If you needed to put a new roof on your house this summer, that money definitely shouldn't be in the stock market because it might not be there when you need it. And everybody has to have some emergency money. We've talked about that before. That's what's got a lot of people in trouble. When the furnace goes, when the transmission goes, you've got to be able to pull out some thousands of dollars to cover those expenses. We're going to take a short break and we'll be back with your financial future.
When you think about income tax, the date that comes to mind is April 15th. But if you want to pay less lifetime income tax, Gary Boatman of Boatman Wealth Management says the most important date is now. No one wants to pay more taxes than legally required. That's why taking action now can potentially save you a significant amount of money. If you are selling a business, a rental property, or other appreciated assets, call Boatman Wealth Management today at 724-648-6600. Boatman Wealth Management has over 18 tax-saving strategies. They want to turn your income tax dollars into income-producing dollars. Don't let your surviving spouse's taxes explode because of the widow's penalty. Act today. Boatman Wealth Management may be able to help you do a Roth conversion and have someone else pay your taxes. Boatman Wealth Management can take your last tax return and analyze it for tax savings. Call Boatman Wealth Management, the tax experts, at 724-684-6600.
Good morning and welcome back to Your Financial Future. I'm certified financial planner Gary Boatman. One of the ways that we sometimes look at money and, we know all bills are greenbacks, right? They're green. But we use a color system sometimes when we're talking about money, and it has to do with risk. What we call green money is things like checking and savings and CDs, treasuries, fixed annuities, market money, and index universal life. Those things are guaranteed. They can't go down. Red money, we know the stop signs is red and the red lights tell us to stop, right? They're instruments with more risk. They're things such as stocks and bonds, variable annuities, mutual funds, REITs, that's a real estate investment trust, variable universal life, and those things go up and down with the market. In the middle, yellow money, it still has some risk, but we take some of the risk out of it. And so sometimes we go and we do what we call a COMRA with our clients, prospective clients. And COMRA has about 9 questions that you answer. They're simple questions. There's not a right and wrong answer. What's important is that you answered honestly for you, for your family. Sometimes when we have spouses there, it's amazing how different the answer will come out. It's not surprising, but it's amazing. And that could make some interesting conversations of what should we have a goal. But once we come up with a COMRA score, it's a form of a risk management score. Then we take your actual assets and we say, okay, what's the score of your current assets? And how does that compare with what you said your score should be? I didn't say that. You did. When we calculate the COMRA, simple to do. We're willing to do this with any of you if you give us a call at 724-684-6600. There's no cost or obligation to do this. We could sit down for an hour. We could do a COMRA. We'd look and we'd say, what is your score? And you may be surprised how much difference your investments are. Then we say, okay, let's realign them. Now, all investments have three elements to them. The three elements are liquidity, how much of your money can you get back, and how quickly. If money is in a savings account at the bank, you go down the next banking day and you take the money out, right? If money is in the stock market, you contact your broker, you put in a sale order, and in about a week or so, you have the money, right? In some products, if it's in real estate, it might take a long time to get it out. There's certain products that are harder to take it out. The second measure is what's the risk? Money in the bank is very safe and it's very liquid, right? But what isn't it? It doesn't get a real good return on savings. Some of them are a fraction of a percentage point. And so return is the third element. There's no investment that gives you the best rate. You know, if you could get a CD that paid you 20% interest and you could get whatever you need tomorrow and it was FDIC insured, we'd have all of our money in there. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. We wish it did. It would be easy. It would make all of our lives simpler, right? But so you have to measure it. You need all three in your financial plans: liquidity, risk management, and return. And normally you should get more return if you're willing to take more risk. If that wasn't true, then you would just take the return with no risk. That would be silly to take on risk if you didn't need to. Going in the market has some risk, but you can get some returns. There's nothing wrong with that. You need to have your overall portfolio balanced. You need to have what's your income level that you need to pay your necessities. We know how cold it's been out here. We know that if you didn't have heat right now, I hear on TV that in Pittsburgh, the warming shelters are open till 7 o'clock p.m. I think, what are those poor people supposed to do all night? I mean, this is terrible out there. They open when it's 20 degrees or cooler, but when it's sub-zero, they're closing at 7. You need to have that stuff guaranteed. Your heat, your place to live, your food, and all that stuff. So, and then there are three types of money as far as the IRS is concerned. You hear me talk about qualified money. Qualified money is IRAs, 401ks, 403bs if you work for a nonprofit, thrift savings plans if you work for the federal government. And there's other deferred comp. There's a number of different ones. Those, you have a partner, and it's Uncle Sam, and they make the rules, and they're going to get paid. So what you want to do when you hear me talk about tax planning is you want to decide when to pay the tax, when it makes sense. And you can do a lot of that if you do good tax planning. But when we look at the three elements, liquidity is most important. Well, let me finish telling you what the other two are. There's non-qualified, which is the savings that you have in the stock market, in the bank, where it's money that was left over from paying your bills. It might be your emergency money. That should be non-qualified money. You've already paid the taxes on it. When you earned it, you only pay the tax on the earning after that. And the last is the spatial qualified, which is like a Roth, a spatially constructed life insurance policy that can give you like a Roth on steroids type of income. Those things. Liquidity is most important on the non-qualified, on the emergency money, because that's what you dip into. All of a sudden, you have a chance to go on a vacation. Somebody calls you up and says, hey, there's a good price on a cruise. Do you want to go? And you need couple $1,000. You want to be able to get that money without paying taxes, without upsetting your tax plan. So liquidity is more important in your non-qualified than your qualified. We want to, there is an order that you should take your money out. Many people don't understand that order. If you have money, too many people end up with the vast majority of their money in qualified. And out of three, that's the worst place to have it. I'm never going to tell you not to save, but the worst place to save is in the qualified because it's not all yours. How it gets taken out. If you had $500,000 in a IRA and you took it all out at once, you might lose 40% of that. So you only get 60. That's not a good deal. If you had that 500,000, say, in a Roth, you could take out 500 and you get to keep it all. Now, Roths, they have a lot of good stuff. They're not perfect in every situation. At Boatman Wealth Management, we help you figure out where to get the money when you retire, the most efficient way, how to try and lower your lifetime taxes, how to try and coordinate holistically all the different elements. Income's most important first, but investments, long-term care, health care, legacy planning, many other areas are very important in your financial future. That's why we call the show Your Financial Future. Many of you read my newspaper column that I wrote for over a decade in local papers. I wrote over 850 columns. I'm not writing a weekly column right now, but I am writing a monthly column that many of you see in the Senior Times. And my February issue should be out soon. It's in the Senior Times. It's inserted in many of the local papers, so be sure and watch for that. But what we do at Boatman Wealth Management is help you take all these complicated subjects and try and simplify it and try and have a plan to put your family in the best financial condition possible. We're going to take a short break and we'll be back.
Gary Boatman of Boatman Wealth Firm thanks you for voting him the best in Fayette financial planner. Gary and his family love helping your family have the best financial life possible. They strive to get to know you and your family. Even though Boatman Wealth Management is a family firm, they have a skilled team of experts in tax planning, income planning and risk management, as well as Social Security risk management, maximization, and all other areas of financial planning. They can get the answers to all your financial questions. At Boatman Wealth Management, they want to help your family pay less in taxes and have the money to do all the great things on your bucket list. They thank you for voting for them, and as a thank you, they are offering a free strategies session so they can help you as they have for so many of your neighbors. Just call 724-684-6600. Your family deserves the best financial life possible. So call Boatman Wealth Management today at 724-684-6600.
Good morning and welcome back. I'm certified financial planner Gary Boatman. All right, before the break, we were talking about a simple way to measure your risk tolerance. We call it COMRA. And it was developed by some friends of ours. And there's several thousand agents across the country that use it. It's a simple way for you to determine what is your risk tolerance, not for me to determine it or Kelly, for you to determine it. You determine your risk tolerance, and then we do a simple measurement, and we say, what are you now? And then we say, well, let's talk about it. And maybe you decide that you could up your risk tolerance a little bit, or maybe you say, wow, I didn't know I was taking all that risk. So you need to know ahead of time. After a crash, it's too late to do that. What happens if the market goes down? Now, let's keep this simple since we're talking here, and we use the number 100. If you had a stock that was worth $100 and it went down 20%, so it went down to $80, that would be down 20%, right? How much does it have to go up for you to get back to your $100? Well, first answer a lot of people would say is, 20%, that's what it went down. That would be wrong. It has to go up 25%. That's used simplest of view in that, what if it went down 50%? If your $100 went down to $50 and it went back, then from $50, it went up 50%, how much would it be worth? It would be worth $75. It would not be worth $100. For it to get back to $100, it would have to go up 100%. So it was back to $100. So a lot of people don't realize it takes a lot more to make up for losses. When you are young, you don't have to worry so much about it. As long as you got money to pay your bills and you're putting money in a 401k, IRA, and you're growing it long term, one of the best things you can do is not watch it all the time. Just keep contributing to it. Have a plan. Make out of every paycheck. Make a contribution. And don't worry about it. Be allocated. Don't all be in one thing, depending on the amount. If you're just starting out, a lot of people use the S&P 500. It's the most common. I've mentioned before, that's the 500 biggest U.S. stocks. It's a good measure of the U.S. economy. It's not always the best place to be, but there's a lot of times it is. But if you're just starting out, it's a great place to start for many people. But as you get bigger things, you want to be allocated more. We can stress test your portfolio and see what your real returns are, what your fees are that you're paying, and things like that. We can do the stress test at no cost or obligation if you give me a call at 724-684-6600. We were talking about how you have to go up to recover in the market much more. So let's just look at it one other different way. Let's just say that the market went down 30%. If the market went down 30% and you are getting a 5% return on that lower figure, how long does it take you to get back to where you were? The answer is 7.3 years. Even if you almost double that and you go to 9% interest, this is compounded, how long would it take you to get to 30% back? It would be 4.1% years. So it takes a lot longer than you think. That's why you have to be balanced. There's nothing wrong with having a portion of your money at a little bit more risk if it's okay with your risk tolerance and you can sleep. We have some tools that we call things such as Portfolio Pilot, and we use Morningstar and Quanti to look at measure your risk. As I said, we can do this stress test for you at no cost or obligation, 724-684-6600. So, there's a lot to think about in retirement, right? Retirement is different than when you're working. You've been working for a long time, so when you're working, you got this drilled down pretty good. Now, we know surprises happen. Companies close. Look at some of the retailers around here that were around for a long time that closed. Big Lots. Jo-Ann Fabrics had been around for a long time. Rite Aid, they were in almost every corner, weren't they? And they went away. So things happen quickly. Things get downsized. Right now, AI is going on. AI is remarkable in a lot of ways. There's a lot of concerns about it, too. And we don't know who's going to be most successful. Not everybody is going to be most successful with AI. People are pouring into all these companies. But let me name a few companies in the past that maybe you heard of. My grandfather would be approximately 135 if he was still alive. He loved to take pictures, and he developed black and white pictures himself. And he loved to take pictures. If you could talk to my grandfather today, if I could get him, and I said, Grandpa, everybody is carrying a camera with them, what would my grandfather say? he'd say, everybody, just buy all the Kodak stock we can get. Kodak film was everywhere, wasn't it? Those yellow things. And then we saw a lot of Fuji film and those green things. Every checkout you went to, it was there. They had those little booths out in some of the parking lots. I think they were called photo huts. You could drive in there and pick up your pictures the next day, right? You used to be able to go to Walmart and places like that, and they'd develop your film in an hour, 2 hours, and they'd give you back prints. Now, where do you see a roll of film? You don't see that in most stores. And everything is digital. When the internet first came out, the internet was huge. We wouldn't have online shopping or all that if it wasn't for the internet, right? What was one of the first companies to get on there? How about Netscape? Remember Netscape? They made the first browsers. But what happened? Microsoft came around and put Internet Explorer in the Office package, and it took over. What was one of the first big email? Everybody has an email. I get too many emails. I must get 300 emails a day. And one of the first emails was AOL. Once in a blue moon, I see an AOL address now. Very seldom, but they were big. And do you remember when you used to go to Blockbuster or Hollywood Video, especially on a Friday or Saturday night, Sunday, and the place was packed? Those stores don't exist anymore because everything's online streaming. So things change. So we need to change. AI is very, very big. It's going to be big, but not all of the companies are going to make it. So if you want to see some possible options, give us a call, 724-684-6600. I'm Certified Financial Planner Gary Boatman, and have a great day.
The preceding program has been recorded for playback at this time. WMBS time is 8:52, and the daily obituary announcements are next.
WMBS high school basketball coverage is proudly sponsored by the law firm of Goodwin Como. Voted Fayette County's best attorney, Benjamin F. Goodwin, and the award-winning Goodwin Como team have been trusted by your friends and neighbors for nearly 2 decades. From estate planning and administration to personal injury, workers' compensation, property matters, family law, and criminal defense, they deliver dedicated, personalized representation when it matters most. With 2 convenient offices in Uniontown and Bell Vernon, visit GoodwinComo.com or call them at 724-438-1616 for your free initial consultation. Goodwin Como, righting wrongs, securing justice.
Do you need a fast, friendly notary service that is open in the evening? Sandy Howell Notary Services is here for you, offering new PA and West Virginia plates and ready to assist with your vehicle, boat, motorcycle, and ATV registrations and transfers, plate renewals, and more. Serving Fayette County and all surrounding areas. Open weekdays from 10 to 8:30 and Saturdays from 9 to 5. Sandy Howell Notary Services, Dry Knob Road, Smithfield. Call 724-564-8955. Big enough to serve you, small enough to know you by name.
Sympathetic help and counsel have always been a part of the Jerome W. Shell Funeral Home's services. The Jerome W. Shell Funeral Home is proud to announce their association with Forethought Life, a program designed to let you plan your funeral in advance. If you're between the ages of 40 and 90, you can't be turned down for any reason. For more information on Forethought Funeral Planning, call the Jerome W. Shell Funeral Home, one of the area's oldest Forethought members. And now to the obituaries.
Good morning. Here are the obituary announcements for Saturday, January 31st, 2026. Rosalie June Spigar of Uniontown passed away Saturday, January 24th at the age of 90. Arrangements made through the Skirpin Funeral Home in Brownsville, as per her request. Services will be private. Rosalie June Spigar. And that is the obituary announcement for Saturday, January 31st, 2026.
The obituaries are presented Monday through Friday at 12:20 p.m., Saturday mornings at 8:50, and Sundays following the noon news. Today's obituaries were sponsored by the Jerome W. Shell Funeral Home, 164 South Mount Vernon Avenue, Uniontown, a Forethought Funeral Planning member.
Are you considering a project design and don't know where to start? K2 Engineering offers a wide range of professional civil, architectural, and municipal services to meet your individual project needs. Our versatility combined with our personalized approach is what sets us apart as a full-service engineering and consultation firm. To learn more about our services, please visit us on the web at www.k2engineering.net. K2 Engineering, where customer service is our priority.
Think about the last time you thanked yourself for something. Maybe it was that me time you took last Tuesday, or finally learning Italian. Want to do something you'll really thank yourself for later? Start creating a plan for your financial goals today. State Farm agent Nathan Ferguson is right here in Uniontown to help you look at the things you want to save for and build a plan to set you up for success. The earlier you start planning, the better off you will be. Call State Farm agent Nathan Ferguson today and thank yourself later. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
There's only one best lunch spot in Uniontown. Titlo Tavern and Grill on West Main Street, serving 8-ounce Reubens, foot-long cheesesteaks and subs, half-pound handmade burgers, plus pizza, calzones, strombolis, pepperoni rolls, and fresh salads like Greek, antipasto, salmon, steak, and chicken. Open Tuesday through Thursday, 11 to 9, Friday till 10, Saturday 2 to 10. Dinner and happy hour specials nightly, and private parties are welcome. Call 724-437-6749. Titlo Tavern and Grill.
Did you know that you have a choice for your physical therapy provider? NovaCare Rehabilitation offers same-day appointments, and oftentimes you don't need a prescription from your doctor to see us. We will make sure that you are treated as an individual and will work directly one-on-one with you to help achieve your goals. You have tried the rest, now try the best. NovaCare, Delaware Avenue in Uniontown. Phone 724-437-0556 to schedule your appointment today.
Your local station, 590 AM, 101.1 FM, WMBS. It's right now 3 below zero and mostly sunny. News is up next, then Pastor Aaron Douthit and Refuge Radio on your local station, WMBS Uniontown.